Okay, I am recording now, so don't say anything rude.
And don't make plosives directly into the microphone.
No, don't plosive into the microphone. Thank you. Wow.
You got it.
Have you cleared your throat? Oh, ow. Oh, actually, that shook some of the earwax out of my left ear. Sweet.
Great, happy for you.
All right. There. Okay.
Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello, dear listener, and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin, and with me, as always, is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son, Thomas.
Hi, hello.
What have you been up to?
Well, in between watching numbers slowly shuffle about in the Tasmanian state elections, which are still being counted because we don't have data entry, and so we can't just push a button and make it happen.
Push a button.
In between all of that, I've been very annoyed at Vanessa Amorosi's Mr. Mysterious.
Have you got an earworm?
No, fortunately. Fortunately, the earworm has passed.
Right.
But no, that song is very annoying to me, because I was just sort of humming it to myself at one point, and so I decided to listen to it, and the scansion is just really bad.
The scansion.
Yes.
Please tell our dear listener, clarify that technical term, scansion.
The words fit badly into the melodic lines that have been selected.
Right, okay. So it doesn't scan properly.
No.
Oh. It's an artistic choice, Thomas. Vanessa chose to do this. It was a deliberate choice, and it was an incredibly popular song.
Yeah, it hit number 4 on the ARIAs, so maybe I'm just wrong.
Way back in... When did it come out?
That's a great question.
Isn't it just? I'm positively brimming with wonderful, insightful questions.
Also, what I have discovered is that
You're not going to give us a date?
April of 2010.
Yeah.
Which is more recent than I expected, to be honest, but there we go.
Absolutely everybody expected it to be a lot later than that.
Yeah, and turns out the single version differs from the album version, as happens sometimes, and the rap is shorter and in a completely different order in the single version.
Wow. It's an artistic choice, Thomas.
Which isn't technically annoying, but was annoying when I went to look at the lyrics for the song on Genius and found out that they weren't quite right.
Yep.
And so this song that I was annoyed with and wanted to have nothing to do with, I fixed the lyrics for.
As you do.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Strange child.
And that's all that's worth talking about. What have you been up to?
Oh, okay. I've been closing bank accounts, Thomas.
Great.
Yeah. And a little bit more than that. Went for a big, very long kayak along the east coast of Tasmania on Friday. And
yes, that would have been Friday.
Went looking for a large concrete memorial that was constructed and put up in 1923 in commemoration of the Dutch explorer Abel Tasman's first landing at that site back in 1642.
Right.
Yeah. The only problem being is that there is now, in fact, even at the time they put it up, there were some questions as to whether that was actually the spot that anybody from that ship landed on, and the fact that he himself possibly didn't even get out of the boat. There is strong suggestions that the ship's carpenter actually jumped out of the boat and swam with the flag, which is possibly why there is some question, because treatment of flags is that the done thing. It was apparently pretty rough, and so to declare the land for the Dutch, the carpenter swam out and stuck the flag in. But the records are scant, but those which exist suggest that this carpenter actually did so at a bay about 2 miles further south. Look, it was a great adventure. The kayak was great, and I went with my sister Helen, who is a dear listener, and we had a grand adventure and did crazy things and looped around pillars of rock and in between narrow gaps where there was lots of kelp and what have you, and landed and had lunch. But we're going to have to do it again and go 2 miles further south.
Right.
Yeah. just so that we can, I did go for a swim in that bay as a symbolic gesture.
Right.
And it just didn't feel right. It just felt like it was the wrong spot.
Uh-huh.
And yes, evidence does suggest, especially descriptions of water sources, which there really didn't appear to be any in this particular bay.
Well, 1642.
Oh, yeah, but the beach further around very well matches the descriptions that were written. So the Historical Society that put up this memorial, there were dissenters even then who seemed to be saying, look at this description, and look at this spot, and it's just, yes. Anyway, but it is one solid block of concrete that's over 100 years old. I can't quite imagine them digging it up and shifting it now, which may be one reason why it's not very well known as a memorial, and the fact that it is surrounded by private land and water. So to get at it, you either need to get permission to go through this private land to get to it, or you need a watercraft to get to it. And the beach...
Or
two. And kayaks were ideal because this bay is a very rocky bay.
Mm-hmm.
So actually getting out of a vessel other than a kayak would be problematical. Unless you swim with a Dutch flag tied around your head.
Well, you'd probably do that from a little closer than where you started.
Yes. We saw seals and eagles, and it was great. Anyway, we have a film to watch.
We do.
We're going to watch it, speaking of birds.
Yeah. And
speaking of eagles.
Case is all the way over there, isn't it?
It is, but you're not allowed to see the case.
Oh.
Because it's a double case
of
a film that we may be watching in the future.
Uh-huh.
So Thomas is going to look up the IMDb description because it's nice, short and succinct. Is that a tautology? Nice, short and succinct? Is it tautology?
It's redundant.
Redundant.
I don't know if
what's tautology? You're going to have to look up two things now.
The saying of the same thing twice over in different words.
So it was a tautology.
Yes.
And it's redundant.
Mm.
It's redundantly tautologist.
Mm.
Good.
Now that we've thoroughly mined the depths of tautology.
We have. Oh no, I'm sure we could go much, extremely large amounts of muchness deeper.
It's not really a tautology if you just say much a bunch of times.
Which is why I had to squeeze something in, and my ad-libbing when I went completely off script, because this is scripted, dear listener. We spent an entire production meeting this afternoon. Or was it this morning?
No, it was this afternoon.
This afternoon, yes. We had a production meeting in a private conference room. And it was
private is perhaps a strong word.
Hey, the other person on the bus had headphones on, I'm sure of it.
And room, perhaps, also. And I don't know if you'd really want to hold a conference in there either.
No, probably not. Anyway, did you find that description?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, as soon as I remembered what the film was called.
Yes. It's got eagles in it, remember?
Not in the title. No. It's 3 Days of the Condor.
Oh, that's right. It's a condor, not an eagle.
And the laconic description of it on IMDb is: a bookish CIA researcher in Manhattan finds all his co-workers dead and must outwit those responsible until he figures out who he can really trust.
Okay, I want you to read that again, but with more emphasis on the word dead, because it lacked impact. So...
A bookish CIA researcher in Manhattan finds all his co-workers dead and must outwit those responsible until he figures out who he can really trust.
Dun, dun, dun. Good. Much better. That's what we're going to watch.
Very natural.
I've even put the DVD into the DVD player. It is a DVD. It's not streaming anywhere that I could find, but... we're going to watch this Robert Redford flick. Then we're going to come back and talk about it. So we shall catch you on the flip side.
Turn to side B.
Not if you're dead.
Oh no, side B might be dead. Who killed side B?
Who killed side B? Coming to theaters near you. You mongrel. So, what did you think?
I think that, with one notable exception, that was good pacing.
Yeah. I was curious as to what you were going to say about the pacing, because I sat in that beanbag with just, this is tense. I'm not sure how this is going to all turn out. And yeah, the pacing was solid. Would I be correct in assessing that one moment was the one that Raven was referring to?
Yes,
right.
That would be the one.
It did seem somewhat unnecessary.
It takes a little too long to get across the point of it. If we're trying to show that these two characters are becoming very close together, by way of relations.
Which they were having.
Yes.
Yes.
It doesn't need to go on for as long as that.
Yeah. It was a choice. It was a choice of less is more by putting more in that wasn't more.
It's a very artsy scene in a film that isn't particularly artsy the rest of the time.
No. It was an odd choice, and it could have done without it. The hinging on a growing relationship so early on by having a relationship. It did not gel, and it wasn't just a case of it being such a scene. It didn't fit with the narrative for me.
I think possibly if it was going to happen, it needed to happen later in the film.
Yeah, it didn't fit.
No.
But the rest of it, wow. I knew very, very little of this film other than its existence and that it does have quite a good reputation. So it was... I can't even remember what prompted me to get it.
Right.
But I did so recently. Yeah, my memory is pretty bad. It did show its age in numerous places, but certainly with it being a technology-based film, that is always an incredible risk. But I have seen films that were made in the 80s, so 10 years after this, that have been very technology-driven, that have aged far more poorly.
Yep.
And I think a lot of that has got to do with using technology as a plot device, but not having a full understanding of it, and so making it smarter in quotes than it actually is. Whereas everything in this film really felt grounded. Now, I don't know what the optical character recognition was like in the time. I know that they leaned heavily into, in the titles, the use of OCR type fonts, but it still felt plausible, whereas numerous films of the 80s just didn't. And whether that was because I was familiar during that stage of what was technologically possible or not, I don't know what it is. There was one bit that wasn't.
It's sort of interesting that it uses the optical character recognition font during the opening credits, because it's not even really a film about computers.
No.
It's a film about phones.
Yeah. The phone tracking with the map, with analog images of the map, was a choice.
Yeah.
But I believe that that kind of technology did exist in that kind of system.
Yeah, no, I believed it. It is, if you cannot currently show, like, digital maps, then just scrolling around an analog map works.
Yeah. That's a cool film.
Yeah.
I really did. And the tinges of humour throughout it were just right. It lightened moments in the right spots, but not to the detriment of the film. The balance was just right, I thought. It was never side-splitting laughter, but we certainly got some chuckles.
Max von Sydow. He's really good.
He really
was
is.
really good.
Yeah. And he hasn't aged, which is funny. Well, he's always been old.
Yeah. Dead now.
He is dead now.
Yes.
So it's a binary thing, really, isn't it? You're either alive or dead.
Yeah.
Whereas some people do sort of go through a incremental decimalisation from 1 to 0, whereas I think he was fully formed at 1 and stayed at 1 until he suddenly became 0. I don't know.
He was just a very good actor. And yeah.
And for him too, it feels really weird, me not wanting to spoil things from a 1975 film that is fairly difficult to get your hands on.
It seems to be streaming pretty readily in the US.
Okay, cool. So I'm not going to spoil it, but his ambiguity of moral consciousness, I guess, is quite interesting compared to that of other characters that you run into in this film. I'm speaking in ciphers when we're talking about a film concerning the CIA. I think it's quite apt.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It was good.
One thing that jarred with me was that he should have clicked that he was traced to a particular place due to the vehicle that he was using, and they didn't get rid of the vehicle.
No.
That was the one thing that quite early on, as far as being tracked down, it was quite obvious that it was the vehicle that he was tracked down by. But they hung on to it for a very, very long time. So
Yeah.
Oh well. We shall forgive that problem and move on. Are we moving on? Do you have other things to say? Dig up that note.
No. I think I'm good there.
Yeah. I was very conscious of the feeling of, wow, I've watched a lot of films that have drawn heavily from this, and now I know the source material.
Oh yeah, on the Wikipedia page for the film, there's a surprisingly lengthy for Wikipedia cultural legacy section, which goes into all sorts of things that have taken from this film.
Yep.
Seinfeld riffed on it with the US Postal Service.
Yep.
Captain America, the Winter Soldier, apparently inspired by 3 Days of the Condor. And that's why Robert Redford is in Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Sweet. Huh.
And Pollack has used the "you think not getting caught in a lie is the same thing as telling the truth" several times after that.
It is a great line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is also apparently the first film to have resulted in a legal challenge because of pan and scan.
Oh. Wow.
Sidney Pollack sued Danish public television for cropping the film for television. It didn't work because, of course, Sidney Pollack was only the director of the film and didn't actually hold the film rights.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Is that because certain cues were completely missed from the pan and scan, or for artistic reasons?
Artistic reasons.
Good. I do know that Steven Spielberg has made that specific demand for certain films. Empire of the Sun, for example, he would not allow to be shown on television in a 4:3 format unless it was letterboxed. And when I first watched it on the videotape, it was, I think at that stage, the only VHS film that I had that was not pan and scan, but was letterboxed. And it made a big thing of this film is being released in the original theatrical ratio. And yeah, interesting. Cool. So if you've got nothing else...
That is correct.
We shall move on.
The following segment has no title. Thank you.
Let's start over on Facebook.
All right.
On episode 106.
What? That was ages ago.
Yeah, on The Princess Bride.
Wow.
And what we have here is Helen and Jill having a discussion about catching up and being behind.
Yes.
And references to Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Yes, because Helen has actually caught up more than Jill has. So there's this... I don't feel like it's a race anymore.
No.
Because there are suggestions further on Facebook that Helen has indeed almost caught up and may well have heard terrible things that were said about her recently.
Yeah.
Unless I edited them out, and now I'm embarrassing myself because I can't really remember. They were so long ago.
But we'll get back to Helen.
Right.
Because over on Discord, Entuosferatu
Hi, Entuosferatu
says, on the film that we watched last week, I had wondered if I'd ever seen a Wes Anderson movie. Turns out just one, Life Aquatic.
We watched that, didn't we?
Yes. Yes, that was a thing that we watched, which I think used the cover title, The Conversations Frank with Colin and Thomas. Which I remember because that cover title was particularly memorable for me.
Yeah. Cool.
And then there goes on to be a conversation about films that people on the Loading Ready Run Discord have watched of Wes Anderson's.
Right.
And Eve Pye says Grand Budapest Hotel and Fantastic Mr. Fox, which are both excellent examples of
really good examples. Yeah.
Of a Wes Anderson movie and also of films.
Yeah. I think that's a very, very good point. They are good films, and they're also good examples of Wes Anderson movies. Yeah.
Another person who may or may not listen to the show, I don't know, said that Asteroid City felt like two separate film ideas that he tried to merge together, which don't fit together right. And yeah, I can sort of...
Yeah, that is a good observation, I think, an accurate observation.
But nothing else in that conversation specific to Asteroid City.
Right.
We go to Helen.
Hi, Helen.
On episode 109. Again?
Oh, that's very recent.
Weird, the Al Yankovic story. And she says, I am now slightly less behind, I think. I assume that is the episode in which we pointed out exactly when she had posted a comment saying that she was behind.
I think that could be an accurate assessment. I'm sorry, Helen, we're not going to listen to every episode to remind ourselves of what we were talking about in that episode. I can't remember what we talked about last episode.
I'm so glad you're doing these especially for me, except you've probably forgotten that you said that
No,
now.
I do remember that one.
I would have guessed Outland 2. Really, I would. So I am going to give myself a worthless honorary point anyway.
Yeah, okay then. If you believe you deserve it, yes. Okay.
I would have guessed Furgo, Furrrgo, for this week's file name, until you said there were no Fs in the file name. Oh, and kudos for the smooth incorporation of the disused lavatory quote from Hitchhikers. I don't think it was quite as smooth as you are putting across.
No, it really was.
Oh, did you edit off the edges?
I slipped that straight into the conversation.
Uh-huh.
What? Hang on. Just a moment ago, I said I cannot remember what we talked about last week, and you were asking me how I edited an episode of a month ago.
That's fair enough.
My goodness.
That's fair enough. But we'll come back to Helen.
We will.
M
Hi, Em.
says that spitting around the world and somehow over South Africa was definitely an interesting and silly bit. 10 out of 10 episode.
I'd like to point out that with this podcast being an audio podcast with no visual media involved, you could not tell which direction I was actually facing. And so I was technically facing into, and this is actually a really handy place to point out, even though I mentioned it in the show notes, I was facing into the roaring 40s. Okay. But I also had to aim the trajectory in such a way that it entered the upper slipstream, which was deflected by the roaring 40s as it went up, to then be able to continue on in its circumnavigation of the world, and in the process also going over South Africa. So, into the wind.
This bit
increases the level of magnitude of the skill involved. So, I'll just pat myself on the back.
This bit is just as genuinely frustrating as it was last week. I don't know if it came across in the recording last week.
No, I edited out your frustration.
Oh, great.
I say that, and yet that was last week. How can I remember what I edited out?
I understand that it makes for a great podcast. There's someone who contributes to Loading Ready Run fairly regularly now, called Jacob Burgess.
Hi, Jacob. Oh.
Almost certainly not listening to this episode.
Hey.
Who does a great job of very much playing up frustration when things are quote-unquote not going his way. And if you're not paying attention, you don't know that he's doing it as a bit. But he's very much doing it as a bit. And so you get a few comments that are like, hey, is Jacob not enjoying this? When people who know are quite sure that he is very much enjoying things.
Yep.
This is often with the tabletop role-playing stuff that Loading Ready Run does.
Right, yep.
You know, another contributor, Dale Friesen, occasionally...
I'm not going to say hi to Dale.
Oh no, you should always tell Dale.
Oh, okay.
Always.
Hi, Dale. I've just been told.
He has a style of dungeon mastering, which is that you always give the players exactly what they have asked for.
I thought you were going to say what they deserve. And that's possibly the same thing?
It can be the same thing.
Right.
And the result of this is that the players do indeed get exactly what they have asked for.
Fair
to
enough.
Their detriment or otherwise.
Yep.
And so there can be interplay between Jacob and Dale, wherein Jacob play acts absolutely hating Dale,
right,
when he definitely doesn't, and respects him immensely.
Yep.
So that's that tangent. So yes, no.
Yes, no?
My genuine frustration at the bit last week was not a bit. I was genuinely frustrated.
Oh, he was furious.
But understood that it would probably make for a good podcast.
Oh, the buttons I was pressing were just,
yeah.
Big. Press me.
And unfortunately, doesn't seem to have been worth much, because it seems like everyone was off for Easter.
What is it with that?
Ah, dear.
Oh, I don't know.
It's not that we chase numbers here.
We do not chase numbers.
But it is worrying to look at the numbers in relation to other numbers and be like, those are low.
There'd be monsters there if we were to be looking at numbers. But it was quite apparent that episode 111, Asteroid City, did not jump out at the general audience whatever the general audience is.
Yeah.
Speaking of the general audience, before we get to the guessing of the names, shall we move to...
No, not yet.
Okay.
Because we have to get back to Helen.
We do have to get back to Helen,
who
who is
on
almost caught up.
Yeah, who on episode 110, Capricorn 1,
Yes.
said, "This is a favourite of mine too, although I can't remember when I last saw it. I actually have a VHS copy. When I was climbing Snowdon in Wales, and I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the Welsh name of that mountain, even though I did look up the pronunciation earlier.
And you've forgotten.
I've forgotten.
You should have edited... Oh, you can't, because it's a screen print.
The F makes a V sound.
It does.
So that's fun. In Wales, many moons ago, a helicopter rose up from behind a ridge in front of me, which was pretty freaky.
It would be. It's the kind of mountain where one does not want to be confronted by a helicopter. I mean, you don't really want to be confronted by a helicopter ever, but
No.
Up on Snowdon, no, you don't want that.
You may not recall a comment that you made in this episode about designing something and then modifying later when you realise there's a better way. Observing that footpaths are often laid down and then people make their own.
Yep.
I remember being told about a new campus somewhere that didn't make any footpaths until they'd let people walk all over the place and find the human optimised routes.
Yep. The podcast 99PI goes into that somewhere in an episode. And in fact, Roman Mars, the podcast host, has also co-written a book about urban design and city design, that kind of thing. And I think there might even be a section in there that talks about that campus. So, yeah. Work out how the people are going to walk and then put the footpaths in and the lawns.
And she continues.
Yes.
I was also profoundly moved by the honourable discussion involving Eve Pi and Entuos Fratu. And she concludes, oh, and even though I'm too late to get any imaginary points, I'll go with Capricorn 1, which I need to check if that is a duplicate. Yes, along with M on that episode, you are still incorrect.
Incorrect, yes.
For all the same reasons stated in the previous episode.
Indeed.
Which you will now have listened to?
Possibly.
When you are listening to this, you will definitely... Surely.
Don't call me Shirley.
Surely you've listened to the previous episode by now.
Who can say? It was Easter. And Asteroid City obviously did not appeal to lots of people, and that may include Helen.
And that is all that I have to say before we get to the guesses.
Okay. So before we get to the guesses, I want to put out an offer to all of our dear listeners to suggest a film that we really need to watch. This is your opportunity to throw something out there that we haven't watched and you think will actually tickle our fancy, because we certainly have a number of long-time listeners who may well be thinking, where is that film on their list? It has to be here. And so here's your opportunity, or something that you think you need to watch this. So,
or suggest something that we have watched and that we should watch again. Though not necessarily on the podcast.
Right. Sorry, I had visions of them suggesting Troll Hunter.
Yeah, let's make a third episode.
Yes.
Suggest 3 Days of the Condor.
Oh, yeah, there we go. No. Hopefully it is not a film that we have done on the podcast, either this one or our previous podcast. So there's your challenge. Suggest some films for us.
Yeah.
All right.
Which
not a big long list. We'd love to hear a suggestion from...
Open invitation.
Yeah.
Whenever strikes your fancy.
Yep. Cool. All right. Let's get to the guesses.
Let us get to the guesses. We have 3 excellent guesses here.
We do.
They are all unique.
They are. In fact, they're all different too.
Yes. Bringing it back to tautology.
Yes.
We will start...
I was hoping someone would see what I did there.
We will start back with Entuos Fratu, who says he will go back to the usual pattern and guess Astcity. Astcty.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will scroll down to E of Pi, who says, anyway, my guess, Astrodict. ASTRDCT. Wait, no, that's not even 6 letters. ASTRCT. And then we will scroll down to M, who says Stracity. STRCTY. And again, these are all excellent guesses.
They've all got 6 letters in them, finally.
They do. Alas,
Alas and alack.
being all excellent guesses, they are all incorrect.
Incorrect, yes. What did I suggest? I mean, what did I actually enter for Asteroid City?
Astcit. ASTCIT.
Who knows how my brain works? And who knows how my brain worked today when we recorded this episode? I'm going to show Thomas where I went for 3 days of the Condor.
Yep.
He's now able to enter that into next week's notes. All right. That's it for this segment.
Yep. This segment is now over.
Yes, we'll move on.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed.
It's your turn.
It is my turn. And a thing said recently has stuck with me.
Oh, I suggest sticking it in the freezer and then peeling it off.
Sure.
That's what you meant to do with gum.
Well, it's not gum.
Blue tack as well.
It is neither gum nor blue tape.
I do not know whether it works with sticky tape.
It's not sticky tape
Okay,
either.
so what's stuck with you?
Okay, so this film is from 1984.
I was alive then.
I was not.
I was in year 10. Wow. Quite liked that year. And hated that year. It was the best of time, it was the worst of time.
And he says, knowing that this will probably actually give it away, it's a Peter Hyams film.
Right. What have we missed?
It's a really big and obvious Peter Hyams film.
Okay. I wish I could get my anxiety down right now. Which isn't letting me do anything at the moment other than spat out silly things.
And there's...
I know that Daniel even mentioned it last week or the week before and said straight out, when are you going to watch? And I'm kicking myself now. So you're going to have to tell me.
Okay, so there's a baby on the cover.
There's a baby on the cover.
There is a baby on the cover. There is a very big baby on the cover. There is also Jupiter on the cover.
Duh. Good grief. Duh. Okay. In fact, that's a star baby, that is.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Next week. I can even remember who I went to see this at the cinema with. But do you think I could remember what the film was earlier? No, I could not remember 2010, the year we made contact.
It is indeed 2010.
Oh, I feel so bad.
The year that Arthur C. Clarke said we would make contact.
Yes. It's up there with rocket suits and flying cars that that we weren't having manned extravehicular transfers whilst circling Jupiter.
And Jaws 4D? 3D?
No, that was
5D?
That was
Yeah, I know that was Back to the Future. I can't remember how many dimensions that version of Jaws was.
that was quite a segue.
Oh, no. No, it's not a number of dimensions. It's Jaws 19.
Okay, I'm still trying to get my head... It's the anxiety thing, again, is not connecting 2010.
Well, apparently we were supposed to make 19 of those films.
Well, I know that, but... okay. Mind you, there are dolphins in 2010, the year we make contact, and there is sort of a segue in that, except it's not. It's a...
And it is a film that I watched and remember liking more than 2001.
It's certainly a far less artsy, cerebral film and more a good sci-fi movie.
It's a film that doesn't have a minutes-long sequence in which many wild colours flash over the screen and you fall asleep.
Oh, ow, that's harsh. Well, you're talking about the black hole?
No, I'm not talking about the black hole, but...
Oh, you're talking about... No.
But that certainly is another film with... and everyone was doing it.
Next week, we're going to be watching the Peter Hyam film, the sequel to 2001: A Space Odyssey, 2010, the year we make the year we make 2010. We are watching 2010. We are watching 2010, the year we make contact. We hope that you can join us, but until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
A bookish CIA researcher in my No, that's not what I'm going for. I'm going to start again.
Okay. Once more with feeling. Spag bog.
Yep.